Okay, listen, man. So I'm going to be closing the office after tonight because we're not going to be doing anything until the new year. Yeah, this is the last kick at the can until 2021. But listen, while we have a break, you got to kind of clean things up because I was just looking at the graffiti here. I got MAGA Trump 2020. I got Antifa terrorists and stuff. And yeah, the whole. I mean, that whole thing is like the whole thing is over, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, the Electoral College has spoken. Right. Yeah. All right. So kind of clean this stuff up for 2021. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Yeah. Happy Hanukkah. Yeah. Bye. Oh boy. You know. It's going to be a while, but we'll get things sorted out. And welcome, by the way, to our the red sweater thing. This is I know we're not at Christmas yet, and we had Santa over the weekend, but this is my little Christmas sweater. It's not flashy, but it's red. Episode 27, also the very last episode of 2020 of the 411. And man, it's been a great year, and I want to thank you all for being here over the last 27 plus episodes. We want to thank Gales Gas Bars Limited for fueling this program and supporting us always. WeeStream for powering this thing and putting the whole thing on. Nick at Niagara 411 and all of you contributors here to the 411. The Fiddler's Poorhouse, Dave McParian, and all of his staff and people that have been just so great to host us. We're going to go inside. We have some spectacular people coming up on the program tonight, including a newly made Niagara hero coming up at 8 o'clock tonight. So don't go away. Stay with us. Fabulous story. Come on in. Okay, here we go. December 17th, 2020, our last show of this year, and I know everybody is really looking forward to being rid of 2020. Everybody just wants to be rid of it, and I don't blame you. We're all the same, and but we've got I wouldn't call it a blockbuster. I mean, Tom Cruise does blockbusters, but we have I think a really nice way to send you into the Yuletide season as our final show here on the 411. And as I mentioned, Gales Gas Bars, WeeStream, Niagara 411, Fiddler's Poorhouse, everybody that has supported us and been so great with us over the last number of months. This has really been cool. It's been groundbreaking, and we have bigger and better things to come, by the way, in 2021. Kevin, Jack, and myself. Kevin, of course, is the executive producer of this program, and his company, WeeStream, puts this thing together technologically. There's Kevin. Merry Christmas to you. It's been
Merry Christmas to
been
you
a pleasure, and this is not going to be a padding episode. It's not going to be just one of those fluffy things. We have some pretty interesting people coming up here, but there is a bit of fluffy thing that I want to do off the top. By fluffy, I mean really, really nice. And last week at this time, we were promoting a show and an event called Live with Santa that was going to be coming up on the Sunday, which is this past Sunday. And Santa was just absolutely fabulous in his support of us putting this thing together. WeeStream went to Santa's place and put up a wonderful set for Santa to appear in. And man, I have to say, Kevin, I watched that show, and I was, I mean, you didn't need me there, so but I was watching online like everybody else, and I have to tell you, I just thought it was a wonderful way to reach out to the children of Niagara, because Santa was on his game. He was just absolutely thrilling And the way you guys put this thing together, kudos from me to you. We didn't plan on talking about this, but I wanted to do this off the top of the show. And there is the wonderful spot at Santa's workshop and in his place at the North Pole where the kids had a chance to talk to him. And man, that was just, I watched it. I had tears in my eyes watching this. I just thought it was, especially in this 2020 COVID era of the holidays, I just thought it was spectacular.
Well, thank you very much, Lee. And as I mentioned, we love giving back here at WeeStream. Unfortunately, our company, we're not at the point that we can just start writing checks. So we do what we can do. We support Momentum Choir here around Niagara. We supported them for years. This was something that we could do to give back to the people. Want to thank all of the families that sat there throughout the broadcast on Sunday morning, the families that participated, the families that just sat back and enjoyed. Over 20,000 views. Thanks to everybody that was involved. And
we know that unfortunately there were some people in the waiting line that didn't have an opportunity to get there, but there were just so many kiddies around Niagara that wanted to talk to Santa that we absolutely knew when this initiative was started that there would be a long queue, and there would maybe be some people that didn't get a chance to get in, and that's unfortunate. But it's on the plus side, it was popular enough that we got a chance to talk to a lot of kids. Or Santa got a chance to talk to a lot of kids. I say we. I had nothing to do with it. Anyway.
No, but thank you, Lee. It was wildly successful. Yeah. Thank you very much to Santa.
Well done.
And I look forward to doing it again next year. I think it's going to be a staple in Niagara.
Yeah, well done. Now, just before we went on the air, we had a look to see there was a power outage in Thorold. Do we have any update on that? Now, we're going to do COVID for sure, as Kevin just put those figures up, but we were talking about the fact that if there's a power outage in Thorold, we'll keep on, if it's still there, we'll keep on top of that, and if we get any new news about that, we'll let you guys know, all right? Now, COVID-19, of course, is on everybody's lips and minds because we have no idea what's going to be announced tonight or what's going to be announced tomorrow as far as Niagara, because we are in dire straits with regard to these infections. New cases today, 44. That's one of the higher ones. They've been higher over the past week, but we've been sitting here week after week after week talking about 10, 11, 7, 9. We're at 44 today. And there have been they've been in the 60s over the last few days, then down to the 30s, then back up to the 60s. The growth rate, 1.6%. That's been higher than anything we've seen in a while. They've been like 0.2 and 0.3% over the last number of weeks. New cases yesterday, higher than today, 52. So we are not, this is not a game anymore, if you ever thought it was. It is not a game. We are awaiting, even as we speak, like right now, it is 9 minutes after 7:10, as you see up here on the time check above you. So even as we speak, we are awaiting a potential announcement tonight that Niagara region will be going into a complete lockdown. Now that's beyond a red zone. That is a complete lockdown. Dr. Hergy, the Niagara Region Acting Medical Officer of Health, has, and I say acting because that's his official title, has said it may take more than a red zone that might be announced, and he expects the red zone to be announced for Niagara by the Premier of Ontario tomorrow. He expects that to happen tomorrow. We should also expect that to happen tomorrow. But before tomorrow, as we've learned, these medical officers of health for regions, they can do whatever they please. If they want to declare it's Armageddon, they declare it's Armageddon. It's a kind of a free-for-all. They have ultimate power. So if he actually says, hey, we're going into lockdown regardless of what the province says, that's what we're going to do. And whether you agree with it or not, that's a pretty drastic thing. And Hergy said that, Dr. Hergy, to be polite, said that it is quite possible that we could go into a lockdown even prior to the province's announcement that we go into a red zone declaration here in Niagara. And we're away. That could happen while we're on the air tonight. And if it does, we will definitely let you know. Now, the first thing I want to do right now is to highlight for you, coming up at 8 o'clock, the story of the day here in Niagara. There was a rescue out of 12 Mile Creek in St. Catharines today. And that was the 12 Mile Creek area that happened under the bridge that connects Welland Avenue with 4th Avenue in St. Catharines. A young woman was rescued from the creek after she decided to go off the bridge into the creek. There was a gentleman in town from Hamilton, and he was bringing his son here for a medical appointment, and he had some time to kill, so he was driving around the area, and he saw this young woman on the bridge and thought maybe he should do something about it, or maybe he should investigate a little further. He did, and there was also an off-duty firefighter that kind of saw and did similar things and took similar action, and the end of the story is the fact that luckily the woman was rescued. Now, what I've just given you is the tip of the iceberg. I have not given you the entire story because we have heroics off the charts that took place today in Niagara, and we're going to introduce you to this gentleman, and he's been very reluctant, by the way. He is a reluctant hero, and people don't like to be called heroes when they just do what they do, and he was just in that place at that time. And I don't want to put too fine a point on it, except for the fact that this gentleman is going to be, his name is Jeremy, and he's going to be joining us at about 8 o'clock tonight to tell us the story in detail about what happened today at that water rescue that occurred this morning in the 12 Mile Creek area of St. Catharines. One person rescued from the water by emergency personnel, and the person, Jeremy, that we're going to be speaking with at around 8 o'clock tonight was a key player in that story that took place. And again, he is a reluctant participant in this show because he doesn't want to be made a big thing of, and we're not going to make a big thing of him, but I think the story is important, and we'll welcome Jeremy to the program and hear what he has to say, and let him run the story down for us about 8 o'clock tonight.
Now, Lee, if people are interested, about 9:10, 9:15 this morning, I was on my way after dropping the kids off at school to the WeeStreem office downtown St. Catharines, and I saw emergency vehicles converging, first on the bridge at 4th Ave, and then down by the trail of Wellandvale on the banks of 12 Mile Creek, and that's what I thought to myself is, oh gosh, somebody's jumped in the water. And at that time I had no idea how it would end. I had a conversation this afternoon with Jeremy, and he was pretty broken up. I mean, he was emotionally impacted by the situation that he found himself in the middle of, and he put himself in the middle. He chose to be a hero. He chose to get himself involved and see what he could do. And at 8 o'clock, again, I'm interested to hear his firsthand account of how he, alongside an off-duty firefighter, the off-duty firefighter, for what it's worth, jumped in the water. I mean, how heroic is that? So I know all the details are coming up at 8 o'clock, but just wanted to add a little more spice to it.
Thank you, Kevin. And actually, that accented my interest in the story, because when I was scrolling all of Nick's postings on 411 today, and I saw that, and I saw you actually comment on that posting that you had been in that area and saw the emergency vehicles, and then of course, in the interest of full disclosure, when we talked in the afternoon, I said, "Hey, Kevin, you were there. What's the, what was the deal when you were there?" And then he told me that he'd been in contact with Jeremy, and I just thought, well, that's wonderful, because we'll and we don't want to exploit people. We don't want to often people say, well, the news organizations, you always exploit people for what. Exploitation is not part of this. It's just human stories that happen in Niagara that we're interested in, and this is one that had a fabulous ending. And we'll tell you that story after 8 o'clock tonight. You may remember a number of weeks ago, we spoke with a fellow by the name of Sandor Ligetfalvy. Sandor, you see him there, and he is in a Shoppers Drug Mart, and he's peeling up sections of insignias that were designed to keep people socially distant during the pandemic. Okay, so and we chatted with him a number of weeks ago because he was also is part of an organization called Hugs Over Masks. I believe that's what it was called, and got his perspective on this whole mask versus non-mask, anti-mask versus mask thing. Well, over this past week, Sandor posted thing on Facebook saying that he was going to be going into court. He said on his post, my court date for the mask bylaw is tomorrow. This is going back a few days. The fine will be up to $1,000 for not wearing a mask during the sticker scraping incident at Shoppers Drug Mart on August 3rd. To my knowledge, I am the only person in Niagara thus far to be fined. So then there was a posting with an up said the court date had been postponed to January the 25th, and there's been an update since then. So while this was up there, I decided that we'd reach out to Sandor, get an update on his situation, and I think we have him in the waiting room. There he is. Sandor, am I doing your name justice?
You're doing it better than I've ever heard it said.
Okay, mate. All right. So now, in spite of the
Thanks
fact...
for having me, Lee.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Now, in spite of the fact that you and I have sort of diametrically opposed views on this mask thing...
yeah, you're fired up tonight. I heard you earlier.
No, that's okay. Far be it from me to not want opposing views. So, your story has exposed and has expanded, and it's interesting, even since you and I spoke. So,
yeah,
you were charged with a couple of things, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
What
yes.
were you
Sorry,
what as a result of the sticker scraping thing? What were you actually charged with?
I was charged with mischief, and I was charged under the mask bylaw, which would be called a fine.
Right.
Which isn't a charge technically.
What was the mischief charge based on? Clarify, or like I know these are all legalese things, but what was the mischief thing?
I mean, you saw the video.
Yeah. So that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I went into the store with a sticker scraper, scraped up stickers, and was chased around the store and then exited the store. And by the time I got halfway down the block, the cruiser pulled up. An officer arrested me. I sat in the cruiser. They interviewed me and interrogated me and found out why I did such a thing, and then decided among themselves what to do.
Yeah.
And determined that a mischief charge was what they would give me, and the mask fine, which they had to look it up. They'd never fined anyone before,
okay.
And I think since they haven't fined an individual for the mask bylaw violations. I'm the special one, so thanks for having me. The anti-masker Christmas special. Merry Christmas to you both.
Okay.
Let's get it all out of the way. So I heard you earlier. You're feeling a little frustrated about the red zone or the gray zone. My goodness.
No, I don't know that I'm frustrated by it. I guess we all are frustrated by it. I mean, that's sort of a given. But let me come back to your situation. So then today, just as I was planning to do this program, there was an announcement that the mischief charge had been withdrawn.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, was that something...
So you have fortuitous timing. I'm in the news today, so you've got a newsmaker.
I got a newsmaker, yeah. So, so the mischief charge being withdrawn. Now, do you have a lawyer representing you in this case?
No.
No, it's just you?
I mean, that's correct. Yeah, there's. I think. I mean, my speculation is that it's really more trouble than it's worth for them to like. What kind of charges could they? What would happen?
Right.
No one was hurt. I peeled up stickers. I'm within my right mind because I did it in a calculated way. So they didn't really have anything that was worth their time, in my view.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that in a second, but first I want to go to the charge that is still sticking. the not wearing a mask under the restrictions that were in place at the time. So what is going to be happening next? What are the next steps with this part of it as far as the legal proceedings are concerned?
Well, I'll receive my disclosure of evidence, which they mentioned in the last. So I did have a court date this week.
Okay.
And I'll receive my disclosure, and I'll go through it, and I have a good sense that it's not gonna stick. Mostly because of the way the bylaw is written, it has exemption written directly into it.
Right.
I mentioned the exemption to the officer before receiving the fine. He asked me to specify what my exemption was, what my medical condition was.
Yeah. Which is what?
Not allowed. And so, given all that, they're going to be like,
Do you have a
and so the local pro-maskers are going to just continue to be infuriated that I haven't received justice yet.
All right.
When are they going to finally get these anti-maskers?
All right.
Goodness.
All right. Hang on a second. So when I wasn't quite clear on when they asked you what your potential medical exemption is or was. Do you have an actual medical exemption yourself?
Well, that depends on what your definition of the term "actual" is.
Okay, well, you tell me what you tell me if you think you have one, and if you have one, what is it?
No, well, the second part is private. This is the whole rigmarole of the mandatory mask situation.
Okay, understood.
According to the way the bylaw is written, including the provincial legislation, there are exemptions.
Right.
And according to the language of the exemptions, any person applies as an exemption, just so as much as they deem themselves as exempt.
Right.
Do you want me to go to a doctor in order to, you said the word "actual," so does that mean a doctor said? So this I'm approaching it.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm approaching it rhetorically because this isn't about me. I didn't do this because of me. I'm a grown-ass man, and I can hustle around the world. Not really worry about it.
I totally understand it. Okay, so we're talking about things that, and you're correct in the fact that if you're not wearing a mask, and even at the time that you did this, if somebody was not wearing a mask and they were doing so for a personal health or physical well-being issue or whatever, then that was supposed to be accepted, and the proprietors of the stores were not to question it and let people go about their business. That's how those bylaws were structured. But we're on a general basis, we're also aware of the fact that hugs over masks, etc., and your philosophical beliefs in the whole mask thing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was the fact that it was unnecessary and we shouldn't be doing it, irrespective of whether you had a health condition or not. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, and to clarify, I haven't been involved in hugs over masks since pretty much the day we spoke, so for about 2 months. I haven't been involved in the in hugs over masks at all. I left the group immediately after that.
Why is that?
It's a very difficult thing to manage a movement. It's not easy, and let's just say that when you're attempting to communicate to people, and you're in a leadership position, and when the media focuses only on me, I don't include you in this. Obviously, you're the new media. You're the guy. You're the fact that you're willing to have an oppositional voice makes you relevant, and the fact that the so-called mainstream refuses to have oppositional voices and tries to control the narrative makes them irrelevant. So, I salute you for that. Sorry, I got a little derailed there. It's a little noisy, so I got a little derailed there.
That's okay.
Bring me back on track.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that comment. Now, I do have a question for you to try to put.
Oh, no, I wish did we miss something? 'Cause
can you hear me?
yeah, I didn't quite answer your question.
No, I think you did. I think do you have something else to say in response to the question before we go on?
Oh, probably, but we don't have all night, you know.
No, okay. I think you answered my questions quite sufficiently. Now, but I do have a little bit more I'd like to chat with you about. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, sure do.
All
I
right,
appreciate the conversation. Yeah.
All right. So,
What's to say?
right now, Sandor, we have a very critical situation with the spread of this virus. Not only in Niagara, but around Ontario. The numbers are not going down. And I realize that one of the arguments from your side would be, well, we have these restrictions in place and the numbers aren't going down. However, the only thing that's going to really drive them backwards is even stricter and stricter rules on how people act. Do you still feel, with what's going on around us right now, with your family and friends, my family and friends, other people from around this province, do you honestly feel that masks and proper conduct and 6 feet distancing, etc., is not relevant? I'm sorry, but I have to question you on that because, frankly, I don't understand the position.
Well, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to have that conversation.
Yeah.
The answer is, I mean, where'd you get your numbers from?
I just get them.
You sound very concerned. You sound like you're a very well-read person. I mean, what you're doing is reading very well.
I get the numbers from what we see and what are reported every day. Those are the only numbers I have.
Where do they get their numbers from? What are their numbers consistent of? The numbers are consistent of tests. The tests are the result of PCR tests. I no doubt you're familiar with questions about the PCR test.
Yes.
Yes. So you know, well, that in fact, when you present these numbers to me, I don't even bat an eye because they don't mean what they're being presented as.
So science, so science is science and scientific reporting and testing reporting from the ministry and health is irrelevant.
I didn't. No, I mean what I'm saying is, indeed, that I don't buy the numbers.
Why?
Man.
Why don't you buy the numbers?
Well, the first point I raised is the important one, which is the PCR test. You know, again, you're familiar with the questions of the PCR test, then you may be familiar that the inventor says it's not a way to determine the presence of infection. That when you spin the cycles up to a certain amount of cycles, that you can find nearly anything in a sample. So we have COVID is a computer virus. It's an operation system. It's a computer virus in our society.
Okay, so how do people die, with all due respect, Sandor?
Yeah, no, this is it.
How do people die from computer viruses?
Well,
computers die from computer viruses.
Yeah, but Lee, computers tabulate data. One said column of data includes the flu. All you got to do is rename it to COVID. How many people per year die of the flu? 2018. 2019.
Where are your? Where are
you can look up the numbers.
What is the basis of your scientific numbers?
Yeah. So
where are the basis of your science? I know where my numbers come from. They come from the ministries of health. Where do your numbers come from?
My numbers come from actually the same source with regards to the question I was just posing.
Okay.
Which is the death numbers. Excess death in society has not spiked. It's not spiking.
Hey guys, maybe mind if I interject here? I think maybe we're getting a little sidetracked from the direction that we want to go here. Sandor, I'm interested.
Yeah, I know. We don't have all night to really drill into it.
We got to go soon.
No, absolutely.
These are the answers to the questions. This is really the discourse that's. You want to know why thousands of people are marching in the streets? They're saying the kind of things that I'm saying.
Well,
So I appreciate that you're giving me the time to talk it out.
I get a sense that a lot of people are marching in the streets just because of their freedoms being infringed upon and the way that society and government in that relationship is handled. And I respect their right to protest. What I'm interested to know from you, Sandor, is as a adamant anti-masker, you're still living your life, you're still going everywhere. How are you being treated? Are you being scoffed at? Are people getting confrontational with you? How are store staff handling you?
Today I was told not to return without a mask to a store I attend for years. I told the guy that he's my friend and he needs to stand up for these things. Okay. See here, I'll explain it for you. So it's not that. The obligation of a store owner is as described earlier, which is to say, "Sir, do you have a mask?" And then the person replies, "No, medical exemption," and then on you go with your business. But instead, this store owner, said, no, they're watching. The neighbors are going to call the health department. Okay. I'm serious, is what they said. Yeah, so we're living under a Sovietization of our society through the vector of masks.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate you coming back on. And, you probably knew that you would be suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as they say. And I appreciate you facing the music tonight. I know we'll talk again because it is an issue that is very, very close to people's sense, as Kevin mentioned, of personal freedom as well as the laws of the land. And it's sort of a narrow line that we walk. Sandor, thank you very much for coming on. And as I've said before, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Thank you for being here.
And we just lost Sandor there, and I want people to know that that was just a computer glitch.
We didn't cut him off.
Let the conspiracy theorists
we don't do that.
Run wild with that.
And again, like he said, he appreciated the fact that we at least accept opposing views and hear them out. And that's what we wanted to have him here. Whether we agree with him or not is another story. Coming up on the program, you'll see right up here above my shoulder is a helicopter. Now, that is a helicopter that is supposed to represent a company called Great Lakes Helicopters. It is managed by a fellow by the name of Dwayne Henderson. And I call them, at least recently, they have other parts of their business, but I call them snowbird movers. And they have got this really interesting segment of their business that they've been developing that has been in direct response to everything that's been going on in this COVID world that we've been living in since March. And the big debate, if you live in Canada, if you live in Southern Ontario in particular, you know somebody, if it's not you, you know somebody that as a regular scheme of events goes south for the winter. It could be 2 weeks, could be a month, could be 6 months, could be 3 months, could be whatever, into Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, but mainly Florida. And when, since the borders have been closed to people driving across for months, it presents an entirely different sack of hammers. Now, there's two issues. A, do you want to go into the United States and do what you usually do with the risk that you could incur down there? And should the answer to that question be yes, it's okay, how do we do it? And obviously you fly, but then you don't have a vehicle down there, and we usually drive our vehicle down there, or we usually tow a trailer down there or whatever. Now what do we do? And Great Lakes Helicopters is a company that came up with a pretty creative solution to help people do that. Dwayne Henderson is the general manager.
I'm going to need a minute here, Lee. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Just to get Dwayne on.
That's okay.
It is something that, and you know what a lot of people are doing it for? I have a connection into the Niagara-on-the-Lake airport.
Yeah.
And just chit-chatting this past week, a lot of people really want their pets to come along with them as well. They want their pets and they want their cars.
Apparently Great Lakes Helicopter will deal with that too. from what I read. Now, one of the things while we're waiting, and I'm patient. We can do whatever we want to do in this program. We have no masters but ourselves. What I was thinking about, and perhaps Sandor is still watching the program. And if you are, Sandor, by all means, I'm not taking shots at you after you're gone. But if you're watching, terrific. Is I was thinking about, so this fellow goes into a Shoppers Drug Mart. Anybody. So in this case, it was Sandor. With something he didn't agree with was happening inside the store, and he starts scraping stickers off the floor. All right, that was the mischief charge. Okay, so I'm the proprietor of a business, and let's say, okay, well let's call it the Shoppers Drug Mart. Let's stay with a pharmacy. Now I have a condom display, a birth control, a pregnancy prevention area in my store. So what if somebody who doesn't believe in birth control or Planned Parenthood walks into my store, or the store that I'm managing or supervising at the time? Could be Shoppers Drug Mart, could be anything. I don't have to be the owner, you can be the manager. So somebody walks in and they don't happen to be a supporter of Planned Parenthood or pregnancy prevention, or like pick a phrase, and starts ripping stickers and displays off the shelves. Is this not something that law enforcement would be rather interested in? Is this something that someone should be allowed to do in somebody's place of business? Go in and just kind of change the display of the store? I don't care whether it's a sticker on the floor, or whether it's or a poster on the wall, or a notice that's in the pharmacy department about wearing a mask. If you come up to place to put in your prescription, or to pick up your prescription, or come in the door, about, like, is this not something that is the under the purview of the people that are operating that establishment? Should that be something that anybody should be allowed to do to any store? And it doesn't have to be anything to do with COVID, but should you be able to walk into let's say a shoe store, all right, and you have here's a good one. How about someplace where they sell perfumes? Now think about this. The perfume manufacturers for years have been under fire for the way they test their scents and the way they produce their products, because of the way they do tests on animals. Remember that? Okay, so let's say that you have an issue with how perfume manufacturers go about testing and making their products. Are you allowed to go into, let's say, the Body Shop or any retail outlet and go in because you object to how they make or research their products? Are you allowed to go in and start ripping things off their floor and off their walls or off their shelves? I don't think so. So take COVID out of it. Why is conduct like that okay? Kevin, do you see the parallel I'm trying to draw here?
Yeah, 100%, and I think that's why he was charged with mischief. You know, it's
yeah, but to me, it's more than mischief. I mean, I know that's the only thing they could do, but you walk into, couldn't it be trespassing? Couldn't it be, I don't know. Sandor, by all means, come back on and talk to us. It's just the fact that these things bother me. These are the questions that keep me awake at night, because I'm trying, and they do. I can wake up screaming in the middle of the night because I don't understand the difference and why it's okay. Because if I ran a store and somebody came in and started ripping my displays apart, or stuff that's on my floor, or please stand here, or mats or whatever, I'd want you arrested.
Yeah, it is pretty frustrating for store owners as well, or business operators. All they're trying to do is make a buck and work within the laws that govern them doing business.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes into your store to prove a point, it gets a little frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean,
I can
Sandor, I
understand
get
that.
it. I mean, I understand
you know what?
protest and
and-
peaceful protest. No, I get it.
I think we're on the same page. You know, I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend your right to say it.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Yeah, but not in my place.
Dwayne is here. Lee?
Dwayne is here. Awesome. It's taken us a little while because we were hoping to have him last week, but he happened to be in the air doing his job, and you can't fault somebody from doing his job. Dwayne, welcome to the program. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Now, Great Lakes Helicopters. First of all, before we get into the issue at hand, tell us about Great Lakes Helicopters.
Sure. Great Lakes is a training facility and a charter company, and we also do aerial work. So we do a lot of crop spraying, and we do a third of our business is school. So we do private and commercial helicopter training, and then we also do charter work similar to what we're doing here with the cross-border stuff.
So now, you fly out of Hamilton Airport, correct?
We're actually flying out of St. Catharines Airport. So we
You're
fly
flying
from
out of
St.
St.
Catharines.
Catharines?
Yeah. Yes. So we're flying out of St. Catharines into Buffalo, dropping passengers off. Then we fly back to Hamilton to clear customs because the customs is closed at St. Catharines due to COVID. And then we fly back from Hamilton to St. Catharines to pick up passengers and take them again.
All right. So now, help me clarify. The flights that you make out of St. Catharines, is that just for this the Snowbird flights, or is that for all of your activities?
Great Lakes is actually located out of Kitchener-Waterloo, and we have a sub base in Grand Bend for tour operations. We're looking at staying in St. Catharines for the summer to do tour operations into the wine country. Okay. But for the specifics of this, we're flying out of St. Catharines to Buffalo for the Snowbirds.
So how long has Great Lakes been in business?
The parent company's been there for 30 years as a maintenance facility, and Great Lakes has been in business for 18 years.
Okay, so obviously you or someone in your organization saw an opportunity with our Snowbird situation here. How did this develop? How did it come about?
One of our company pilots' parents live in Florida for the winter, and they were looking for a way to go over and asked them about using one of our company helicopters to take them over. Talked to me. We agreed that would be fine for them to do a private flight like that over. They needed their vehicle, so we hooked up with a trucking company to get their vehicle over, and then realized there's a niche here. Got a lot of calls. They posted on the Snowbird Association about their trip, and next thing you know, the phone was ringing, and I think this weekend we're topping about 190 flights so far, and we have about 300 left to go.
190 flights that you've done in total, or just the?
190 so far in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And we have about 300 sitting on the books between now and the 1st of February.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so explain to me how it works. What actually is the service? And you said you partnered with a transportation company, so obviously they have people that can drive trucks because they are special designations. They can actually cross the border. Tell me how it works.
Sure. So flying is legal. There's nothing wrong with it now. Air Canada flies, WestJet flies, lots of commercial carriers fly. We're a commercial carrier. So there's nothing illegal or underhanded or circumventing any rules. We're allowed to fly people across the border. What we've done that's a little more clever is we actually have a couple different trucking companies, and we get the passengers and the vehicles together at one time. We load up the vehicles 3 to 5 at a time on a car hauler. We send that car hauler towards the border. Those are commercial carriers. They're allowed to take vehicles and goods across. They're bonded and insured. They go around to the Buffalo airport, drop the vehicles off while we shuffle the people via helicopter right to the executive terminal over at TAC Air in Buffalo. The customs come out to the helicopter and meet the passengers. They clear them right there. They've been wonderful. Everybody's been very inviting. They walk out through the door, get the keys from the reception, get in their vehicle, and drive on to Florida or wherever they're going.
Wow. Okay. So, how many people can you take in one flight? How big are your choppers?
So we're just using R40. It's called Robinson R44s and Bell 206s. So they're only up to 3 or 4 passengers. And this is the attraction. So people aren't having to go to the big airports, go through security, go through customs and lineups, get on an airplane with 200 of their best friends. This is very private. It's intimate. They get on the helicopter. The helicopters are clean. Every flight, there's only one pilot on it, and there's very limited exposure from any kind of masses or publics.
Okay, so you got the pilot, and you have a maximum of 3 other people, right?
Correct.
Okay, now what about their luggage, their pets, their belongings, all the stuff that people take with them to go to Florida for or up south for a number of months?
So in the vehicles, they're allowed limited personal stuff, so their suitcases, bicycles, whatever, that kind of stuff can go in their vehicles when they go across, as long as they have it manifested properly. And then we ask people to bring their own medications and that kind of thing. And we're pet friendly. So the dogs and pets and cats can get right in the helicopter with the passengers.
Okay. So the luggage and the bicycles and everything, they go in the vehicles that the trucking company takes over.
Correct. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So now, what does this cost?
It's $1,200 for the helicopter. Doesn't matter if it's one person or 3 people. You're allowed up to 525 pounds or 3 people. And the vehicle is $700 to take across. And the round trip for the helicopter is just over an hour. So it's normal commercial rates. This isn't a COVID rate or anything. It's a normal cost for an R44. That's the typical kind of charge out rate, plus all the landing fees.
So we're talking about $2,000 roughly to transport somebody and their family and their belongings and their vehicle to the Buffalo Airport. It's about $2,000.
That's right.
Okay, that's Canadian.
That's even Canadian.
Yeah, plus taxes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking 20. So if you add it all up and do all the little bits and bytes, we're talking about $2,200 to $2,500. Okay.
No, it's actually, it comes out to $2,056. There's actually no tax on vehicles. There's no tariff on vehicles. Taxes are nothing under $700, and the flight is taxable. So
thank you for correcting me. So we got $2,056. Okay.
Yep.
So I want to congratulate you and your company on your ingenuity. This is absolutely brilliant. Because at first when I heard of you guys, I actually thought you were flying vehicles over. Like, that's how ridiculous I was. I thought you were flying the cars over. How does that work? But now, what about somebody that has a vehicle or a contraption where they actually haul a trailer or something like that? How does that work?
So we have individual vehicles, drivers. So if someone's got a motorhome or a big truck with a trailer with motorcycles or something in it, and it's oversized for the normal trucks, we send an individual driver, and the cost for that's $1,600.
All right. So what if somebody's got a family of 4? What do you do?
We just take 2 flights, 2 and 2.
And they have to pay for it?
Yeah, well, actually, specifically a family of 4, our Bell 206 will take 4 people. So that's the same price, $1,200 for that helicopter with 4 people in it. If it's 4 people and a cat or a dog that we need a little more room, they have to take 2 flights.
All right, so a lot of people have asked this question, and I'm sure they've done the math. I mean, I'm not a snowbird, but I'm sure a lot of people have done the math, and the fact that's in spite of the fact that it's a pretty cool service that you guys do, and it's not really crazy expensive, but if I were gonna say, if I were gonna fly to Florida, I guess I'd have to pay for my flights now to Florida. I don't know what they cost, but you can get some pretty inexpensive trips to Florida. You could like buy but I guess you couldn't take your pets, could you?
The pets are really limited in the big commercial carriers. They only take so many underneath, and they only allow so many up with the passengers. And a vehicle, so if you want your vehicle down there, it's I've heard it's about between $1,500 and $1,700 to go to mid-Florida. And a flight right now is about $600 a person. So you save the drive, but you would certainly have to rent a vehicle if you want your vehicle, and you don't get to take everything that you want. And then you have the inconvenience of the timing of trying to figure out a flight with your pet.
So Dwayne, so far I'm guessing since you got a cache of maybe 300 people coming up, that this has been pretty successful for you. Are you pleased with how this is going?
Well, given what our March, April, May looked like, we're really happy to have the extra business at this time of year for sure.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a windfall for us. It's keeping some pilots busy that normally would be off in season. So we're very happy to keep some more employment going, and the fuel trucks running, and car carriers doing a little more than they normally would do.
Now, do you supply the service in reverse, like when they come back to Canada?
No, because Canadians are allowed to enter back into Canada. They still have to do the quarantine the same as they would if they flew in or drive in. So they can actually drive their own vehicles back across. So this is a one-way trip.
That's a pretty cool loophole. That's amazing. So now, what about? Are there any, because of the COVID-19 issues, et cetera? And I know that you obviously have heavy insurance premiums as it is, being a people carrier. Are there any liability issues that your company faces with regard to somebody perchance taking COVID into the U.S. or obviously not bringing it back because you don't bring them back? But is there any liability involved there?
No, we're following all the protocols that are laid out for the safe practices of what we do. The helicopters are clean when they get out. They're clean when the new people get in. We're following all the other COVID protocols, temperatures and the declarations and so on. So There's no more liability to this than someone getting on a bus. Except it's intimate. There's only the pilot and yourself, so the chance of transmittal on the helicopter or something's very, very slim. And
not to mention the fact that there have been a lot of people on the planet. I've been lucky. I've been in helicopters numerous times, but a lot of people haven't been. So it's almost like you're paying for a pretty cool trip, because it's kind of a neat experience, especially if you're going over to Buffalo with the scenery that happens from St. Catharines across like Niagara and everything else into Buffalo. It's kind of like paying for a tourist trip.
Yeah, a little bit. You look out the left side of the helicopter, we're within about 4 miles of the falls.
All right.
Lee, do you mind if I just hop in here?
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, Dwayne, it's Kevin behind the scenes here. Just want to know if your company's experienced any backlash.
Very little. We've had a couple people call that aren't supportive of snowbirds or people going to the U.S., not necessarily upset with us. A few people have said, it's a cheeky way to circumvent rules or something, but it's actually not circumventing any rules. It's legal to fly across. The flying borders are open. It's the land borders that are closed to no one except essential personnel. So Air Canada does it, WestJet does it, Swoop does it, all these other companies do it. We're no different than those companies. So
and I guess
the backlash actually for the volume of people that we've talked to and stuff, I can only think of probably 4 or 5 emails, and it was more in the general tone of Canadians just shouldn't be going somewhere like Florida or these hot spots.
And sorry, Lee, I got a follow-up for you here, Dwayne. As we roll, of course, right now, the desire would be from Canadians to head south as we get into next summer, and who knows what we're going to be like COVID, but have you got any inquiries from Americans looking to get over to this side? Because as we know, that North Shore of Fort Erie, all those properties are owned by Americans. Has anybody rang your bell on that?
We have, yes. There's certainly been a fair amount of calls. A lot from Manitoba over to Northern Ontario, like Sioux Lookout, and those areas up there where the fishing's quite popular, and a lot of Americans have places in Minnesota. I guess that would be that come up over the summer as well.
Yeah, having lived in Winnipeg for a number of years, that's a huge opportunity from Minnesota up through northern Winnipeg for fishing and those kinds of things. Let me ask you this before we let you go, is prior to this that has been getting you an awful lot of attention, what was the core, prior to the whole COVID snowbird thing, what was the core business of Great Lakes Helicopters? What is your core business?
We're in 3 buckets. A third of our business is agricultural support, so spraying crops, wheat and corn, and broadcasting seeds. Gypsy moth is going to be a huge thing this spring.
Right.
It was big last spring, on the western shore of Lake Huron and so on. a lot of gypsy moths. So we do a lot of that aerial work. A third of our business is in the school, private and commercial helicopters students, and we're connected with University of Waterloo and Conestoga College, for their aviation programs. And then the other third is charters, exactly what we're doing now, just not in the bulk in such a concentration.
Yeah.
But lots of trips to Cowbell and Rambling Road and Black Horse Winery and that kind of stuff.
All right, so since you've been good enough to spend your time with us, Dwayne, I'll give you a chance to let people know how to find you. If somebody wants to talk to you more about your services, how do we find you? What's the easiest way?
Appreciate that. You can just go on our website. It's GLH.ca, or Great Lakes Helicopter.ca.
There it is, right there.
You can Google us and find us, and you can hit info and send us an email, and we'll get back to you.
Well, that's awesome. Sorry we missed you last week. I know you were in the air, and it couldn't be helped, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the fact that you stuck by us and came back to tell us about what you do this week, because it's a fascinating entrepreneurial story, and kudos to you guys for figuring it out. Thanks for being here.
No problem. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Take, man.
Bye.
As they say, it is an ill wind that blows no good. So out of everything negative that happens, there are always positives that come out of it. And with this whole COVID thing, Kevin, I think there are going to be many, many things that people will realize that, wow, I didn't think we could do that until this happened. I never thought of it before.
And my parents are snowbirds. This year they've elected not to go to Florida.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it should be criticized that much. I think a lot of snowbirds go south to escape the winter. It's
Well,
just
it's the only
that.
reason they go south.
Yeah, they do it to escape the winter, but it's not like they're after some exquisite lifestyle. It's just,
No.
I don't want to be a hermit.
I don't want to be in the snow.
Yeah, for the next 2 to 3 months. But there's no reason why a Canadian can't go live a self-isolated,
You can self-isolate
safe
in
life in the United States.
Except it happens to be 30 degrees warmer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, like, oh my gosh, you're going to go to Florida, well, you're going to get COVID for sure. I go, well, no, of course there'll be an increased risk, but if you plan on living a self-isolated life, I mean, you can get groceries delivered in the United States, in fact, easier than you can in Canada.
Yeah. Now, the only thing with this system is the fact that you've got to drive from Buffalo to wherever it is you're going. So you've got to you have to pretty carefully massage your trip so that you don't come in contact with too many people between Buffalo and whatever your destination is. But you're right. People can self-isolate in Fort Lauderdale as much as they can isolate in Wainfleet. I mean, it doesn't matter.
And the reality is, Lee, is that most snowbirds make the drive so that they have their car when they reach their destination. Renting a car for 2-3 months makes it financially impossible.
Yeah.
So a lot of them do drive.
And this is what I was thinking, because okay, so why don't you just buy a $1,500 beater in Florida and fly down? But then again, you don't have your pets, you don't have all this other stuff, you don't have a lot of things that under this plan you can take with you. It's almost like taking your own car down there, or your own motorhome, or whatever it is.
To me, $2,000 is, I don't want to say it's nothing, but I think it's an easy decision for people that are itching to go south that do it on a regular basis.
Yeah, now the only thing, and this is something that there's no way that Dwayne would have been able to answer this because it's not his area of expertise. But the only thing that a lot of people would say is, what about health care? What if you get sick down there? Now, hospitals are full to overflowing. We got COVID emergencies happening. Healthcare is already expensive in the United States. What sort of insurance can Canadians get? How does that work if you get sick? Now, that's another whole sack of hammers that you've got to think about and take into consideration if you want to go down there. That. Well, that's a conversation for another show that we'll probably have sometime in January, because we certainly don't have it tonight. One of the things that I do want to do is mention again that this is our final show of 2020, the 411, episode 27. I want to congratulate Kevin Jack on a fabulous support system for helping us here through WeeStream Niagara, him and his partner Brandon Sham for bringing this technologically to Niagara. And there it is, Gales Gas Bars Limited, our underwriter, if you want to say. This program has been fueled by Gales Gas Bars for the last 27 episodes. We hope that they are going to be around to continue to fuel this program into 2021, and we'll be able to tell you more about that when we get into 2021. Also to Fiddler's Poorhouse, this wonderful location that we have, Kevin, and the streetscapes that you see behind us are all courtesy of the fact that we are able to do this program in the window at Dave McParian's Fiddler's Poorhouse. Also, all of you people that contribute to the Niagara 411 and to Nick, who is our never-ceasing dedicated partner to this program. We share ideas, we share thoughts, we share news leads, we share product, and to Nick, thank you very much for being a part of this thing. Kevin and I have been talking about a lot of things and talking with our partners and our contributors about how do we move forward into 2021 with this show, because every time you have a new year, every time you have a new beginning, it is time for new beginnings. It's time to reevaluate everything that you're doing and say, hey, what are we doing? This was always, when I was in business and running businesses, there were always, every time you got to an end of a year, you asked yourself 3 questions. What are we doing right that we want to keep? What are we doing wrong that we don't want to do anymore? And what could we do differently that'll make us better? And that's what we've been talking about over the last number of weeks and months. And we're going to be asking ourselves those questions. And we would appreciate it, by the way, if you could even offer us food for thought in that realm. Just go to Livestream Niagara. Or to WeeStream, or to Niagara 411 and say, hey, about that 411 show you do, we'd really like it more if you did this. Or this is something that we'd like you to do better. Or this is something we'd like you to stop doing. We'd like you to get rid of that Sterry guy. Okay, well, that's all right. They'll consider that. And it's all good. So this is that time of year when we do look to rebirthing everything, and we want you to be a part of it. So our first show in 2021 will be the week of it'll be either January 6th, 7th, something like that. Yeah. And we'll be back here and we'll let you know how to find us. And in the meantime, thank you very much for being here. Merry Christmas. We're not done with this show. We got a big segment coming up, but I just wanted to take this moment to make that clear that we're going to take a bit of a hiatus for the next couple of weeks, but we're going to be back with bells off and on. And we want to thank Gales Gas Bars for fueling this program. We want to thank WeeStream for the technology, Fiddler's Poorhouse, Dave McParian for the location, my company, LeeSterryVoiceServices.com, and of course, Niagara 411. So, Kevin, it's been a fun year.
Yeah, it has. It has most definitely, and I'm looking to even bigger and better things in 2021. As Sandor said, we're new media. This is new media, and I really think we're gaining a foothold here in Niagara. So I love doing the show, Lee.
Yeah.
And love it because we can speak to people, the real people of Niagara that are making an impact, like our next guest.
Yeah. And I can guarantee you that we will, the one thing that will not change here is the fact that we will be live and in your device every week. It's not going to be recorded or live on tape or any of those other silly things. We will be live and in your homes and in your face, and you'll be in our face come early January. That I can guarantee you. So, a story that broke this morning, as stories do, you never know where they're going to go. It was very early this morning, and Kevin actually saw the emergency vehicles on site as well. But this particular gentleman that is going to be joining us, is Jeremy in the immediate vicinity?
Yeah, he's right here, man.
He's here? Cool. Welcome, Jeremy, to the program. How you doing, bud? Can you hear me? He's trying to get me tuned in here.
We can see you there, Jeremy.
We can see you.
All right, here, we'll let him just...
Okay, so while they're trying to make an audio connection...
I think it was all good. Looked good on his end.
Yeah, Jeremy is a gentleman from Hamilton. And he was in St. Catharines because he brought his son here for an appointment. And he had some time to kill, and he was driving through our city and happened to notice when he was heading onto 4th Avenue in St. Catharines that there was a woman on a bridge overlooking 12 Mile Creek here in St. Catharines, obviously. And it caused him concern, and he thought he should do something about it. And as the story developed, the bottom line was the fact that a young woman was rescued from 12 Mile Creek. Often we hear about some tragedies that take place from various and sundry elevated areas here, and the outcome is not so favorable. In this case, this young woman was rescued. Jeremy was a key player in that rescue, as was an off-duty firefighter, and we're walking through our technical processes here to try to get Jeremy on to tell his story, because it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, okay, we'll just get him on here, Lee. We got a few things.
Trying to reconnect?
Yeah, a few things happening here.
That's okay. Depending on where people are calling from, this technology does really work well, but unfortunately it is always contingent on how the internet connections are from where the people are that are calling in, and sometimes those connections are not exactly what you'd want. I hear something in the background. How we doing?
There we go.
Jeremy?
Hello? Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. First of all, welcome to the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm not going to tell your story. I told a little bit about it at the beginning, which you could probably hear. First of all, it's very nice to meet you. Thank you. I know you were hesitant to come on the show, but we really appreciate it. And I'm Lee, and I thank you for being here, okay?
Thank you for having me.
So, walk us through what happened this morning from the very beginning of your day.
I don't want to get into too much detail on everything, other than someone was in the water and they needed to be rescued, and I just happened to be there. There was a few other people there at the time as well that helped, and we were luckily able to get the person out of the water, and I don't know. I know they were conscious getting into the ambulance, but other than that, I don't know how they're doing, but I hope it's well.
So where were you when you noticed something untoward? You were heading across the bridge? Yeah,
I was heading across the bridge, and then I turned around to come back because I noticed something was wrong, and then at that time I'd seen people looking over, so I knew that somebody had gone over, and so I just drove down the side road and pulled off to the side and started running along the side of the creek, keeping an eye on them in the creek. And then another guy joined me running along the creek, and he just said, "Keep eyes on me, I'm going to get her," and he just dove in. And then he got to her, he brought her back, I went in, got up to my knees, and I grabbed the two of them and pulled them to shore, and then a few other people were there as well. They wrapped us with blankets and towels and jackets, and then ambulance got there and loaded them up. And
so how did you?
Okay.
Were you familiar? I know you live in Hamilton, right?
Well, I'm from Hamilton, yes.
Okay, so
But I know the area fairly well. So.
I was going to say you must know St. Catharines pretty well. So, you said you went down there. How did you get down to where this woman was?
There's just a side street that goes down over another little small.
Just to
bridge.
interject, it's Wellandvale. That's the name of that little street right
Yeah,
there.
Wellandville. Yeah.
Yeah. But you knew it was there, or you just saw it?
Yeah, I knew it was there. So
Okay.
I just, as soon as I seen that everyone had gathered, I just went right down. I got out onto the bridge, and another woman said, "Oh, there she is," and then we started running up along the creek.
Jeremy, why did you do that? Why did you go down there?
Just have to. You can't.
Okay.
I mean, you say that.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but not.
No, I know.
But most of us wouldn't. We would watch, but you actually went there. Is it something you just did without thinking?
Yeah, and there was a lot of other people there that did as well, that
Yeah.
joined in and
So
were
this.
helping. I wasn't the only one, so it's.
So you were running along the bank with this other fellow, and
Yeah, like it wasn't just me. It was me and another guy. There was a woman that finally saw her. There was a group effort that got her out of the water. So.
Okay, so you didn't see this. You didn't see the lady fall.
No.
Okay, but obviously somebody now and this fellow, as I understand, was an off-duty firefighter. He's the one that actually went into 12 Mile Creek to bring this lady out.
Yeah.
And you helped them. And you helped them get to shore.
Yes.
Okay, and was she conscious when she came to shore, Jeremy?
No.
No.
No, not at first. Not at first. No.
And you just held her. Is that what you did? You just kind of hung
Yeah,
on to her?
I just grabbed her and pulled her out of the water and then just sat with her and just started like giving her warmth. That's good. The paramedics couldn't really get to us right away. So.
Did she? How long did it take the paramedics to get there?
I'd say maybe 3 minutes tops from when we got her out of the water.
Wow. Okay. So and
it was very quick that they got there. Very quick.
That's wonderful. So how did she wake up while you were there with her?
She was making noises. It sounded like she was trying to say something, but she was probably in shock and hypothermic at that point.
Right. So when the EMTs got there, what happened next?
They put a neck brace on her, wrapped her in blankets, and put her in an ambulance.
And took her away.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
What was going through your mind? How did this this episode? First of all, thank you for your service. Beyond that, how did it make you feel? How are you feeling now? Are you okay?
Yes and no. It's. I'm just glad we got her out. I'm so happy we got her out.
How did this whole situation make you feel with regard to you and your life and what went on? I mean, I can't imagine how this would affect someone's life. What else has been going through your mind since this happened?
Did we just break up with Jeremy there?
Yeah, we get a little freeze. That's okay.
That's all right. Hopefully we get him back here. But that's incredible, Lee. Have to see
Yeah,
now.
we'll just wait. He'll be back.
Yeah, I think
Just wait.
it's just a bit of a flash freeze there. It's an incredible rescue there. He was telling me earlier today that he was on his way he was on his way kind of towards 4th Avenue Shopping Center, the Lena Linguini area, and saw this woman in distress, but at the time couldn't stop. So he turned around and came back. And by the time he came back, so I think we got Jeremy here. By the time he came back, that's where that's what she had noticed, that she was no longer on the bridge. Other people had gathered, so he went down below. And I guess you know what, we'll get Jeremy back on here to tell his story. Oh, just a second here, Lee.
Yeah, so Jeremy's back, and
Hello?
hi, Jeremy. Sorry we lost you there, but you're back. Now you have your own story to tell that sort of dovetails into this. What? Tell us a little bit more about you and your life and what's going on.
Well, just single father, taking care of 3 kids.
Yeah, Jeremy, maybe I can ask you. I mean, you dropped off your 19-year-old son there, you had said, for medical treatment in St. Catharines. That was going to take 2 hours. Then 2 hours later, you pick him up, and I imagine this incident pretty much took up that entire 2 hours. So when you picked him up, how could you possibly begin to explain what your 2 hours was like? How did that conversation go?
I just told him just how I told you, just.
And what was his
lifted
reaction?
up my leg and showed him my new socks.
Yeah, did you go clothe yourself? Get some warm clothes?
Yeah, I had to go get some dry stuff, and
I guess.
What did the fireman, the off-duty fireman? You said that he was the one that jumped into the water. What did you and he exchange anything? Did you guys talk afterwards, or was it kind of so chaotic that you just went your separate ways?
Yeah, I know. I know you said watch my back or whatever, but after that,
yeah, he just said keep your eyes on me, and I said I got you, brother, and he just jumped in, and then when he came to shore, I pulled her out, and then this other guy came in the water with me, and he grabbed the guy that jumped in and pulled him out. And then when he crawled over to me, the first thing he said to me was that I did a good job. And I was so confused by that. I looked at him, I was like, I didn't do anything. You're the one that jumped in. What do you mean? And he's like, I wouldn't have went in if it wasn't for you.
Well, there you go.
So I gotta give. He's the one that deserves the recognition here, for sure.
Well. And
if he's a first responder, that's what they're trained to do, and they deserve a lot of respect for that. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it every day.
Jeremy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do know from conversations that you had with Kevin earlier, etc., that you have had things go on in your life that may have been a catalyst to help you get involved or make you jump in and help out today. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think your story is an important one, and that's why I just wanted to ask you if you could tell us how you're doing and if you're comfortable telling us that part of the story, because I think there may be, and I know we don't know the status of this young woman. We have no idea, but there may be at some point in time a mental health connection or conversation that may need to be had. And I just wondered if you have any comments on that, or if you feel any connection to that.
Yeah, definitely. A few years ago, I was diagnosed myself with PTSD. My wife passed away from cancer. I don't think that had anything to do today with me being there. It was just I was there at the right time, you know what I mean? It just I would, but anyways, yeah, I wanted to make sure. Like I don't really know the reasons why what happened today. Like I don't want to jump to conclusion and say, you know, it was a mental health issue. But people need to know that, like, you know, that is an issue, and they don't need to be afraid to talk about it. I know a lot of first responders, a couple personally, that deal with the same thing that I do, you know, with PTSD, and just don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to get help if you need it. Like it's a hard thing to deal with on your own. And
well, thank you for that, Jeremy. Was your PTSD diagnosis related to your wife's death?
Yeah, just I took care of her for the last few months of her life here at home, so just the things I had to do.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hope none of our questions made you feel uncomfortable tonight, because that was certainly not our goal.
No.
Thank
you. Thank you.
How are you and your son doing tonight? You guys okay?
Oh yeah, we're all home, safe and warm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, just how life changes? I mean, you've probably dropped your son off for appointments many times over the years, but today is one that you'll never forget. Do you think that what happened today is something that stays with you for the rest of your life?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just, like I say, I'm happy we got her. I'm happy that guy was there to help.
Okay.
And
we hear so many stories of desperate individuals that don't end on a positive note. This one did. And again, we don't want to make any conjectures about what was going on with this young woman. All we know is she ended up in the water, and you and another Niagara hero led to her survival, and for that we thank you both. And Jeremy, I really hope it's wonderful to meet you. And I hope that you're able to deal with whatever you need to deal with